The desert roared with the thunder of engines and the crack of gunfire. In the burning heat of North Africa, tanks clashed like metallic beasts, and soldiers battled not just each other, but the brutal sun, shifting sands, and endless open terrain. It was a war of speed, strategy, and survival, where famed commanders like Rommel and Montgomery would etch their names into history. The North African Front was a battleground where the fate of empires and the course of World War II hung in the balance. Welcome to History in a Hurry. I'm Eli Stone, and in this episode we will learn about the North African Front during World War II. The North African Front of World War II, stretching from 1940 to 1943, was a critical and dynamic theater of conflict between the Allied and Axis powers. Fought across the deserts of Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco, it involved some of the most legendary battles and military leaders of the war. Control of North Africa was vital, not only for its strategic position, guarding the Suez Canal and Middle Eastern oil fields, but also for preparing the way for the eventual Allied invasion of southern Europe. The campaign began in earnest after Italy, under Benito Mussolini, entered the war on the Axis side in June 1940. Mussolini sought to expand Italian territories in Africa, particularly targeting British-controlled Egypt. In September 1940, Italian forces based in Libya launched an invasion into Egypt. However, they quickly became bogged down due to poor logistics and leadership. The British, under General Richard O'Connor, counterattacked with Operation Compass, delivering a stunning defeat to the Italians, capturing thousands of prisoners and nearly toppling Italy's position in North Africa. Alarmed by the situation, Adolf Hitler sent the Afrika Korps, commanded by the brilliant and daring General Erwin Rommel, to stabilize the front. Arriving in early 1941, Rommel quickly turned the tide. Using swift, aggressive tactics, he pushed the British back across the desert toward Egypt in a series of engagements that earned him the nickname, the Desert Fox. Rommel's mastery of mobile warfare and his ability to strike hard and fast made him one of the most respected adversaries of the war. The back-and-forth battles across the harsh North African terrain created a unique kind of warfare. Vast distances, extreme temperatures, and a constant need for supplies made logistics as critical as combat skill. The so-called Desert War was marked by long periods of stalemate, rapid advances, and sudden retreats as both sides struggled to gain and hold ground. In late 1941 and early 1942, the British launched Operation Crusader, temporarily relieving the siege of Tobruk and pushing Axis forces back. However, Rommel regrouped and launched a powerful counteroffensive in early 1942, culminating in the fall of Tobruk, a major setback for the Allies. Rommel's forces advanced deep into Egypt, threatening the vital city of Alexandria and the Suez Canal. It was at this critical moment that British leadership in North Africa changed. General Bernard Montgomery took command of the British Eighth Army. Methodical and cautious, Montgomery prepared for a decisive showdown. In October 1942, at the Second Battle of El Alamein, Montgomery's forces struck hard against Rommel's stretched and undersupplied army. After intense fighting, the Allies broke through, forcing Rommel into a retreat across Libya. Meanwhile, on November 8, 1942, the Allies launched Operation Torch, an ambitious amphibious invasion of French North Africa. American and British forces, under the overall command of General Dwight D. Eisenhower, landed in Morocco and Algeria. They quickly encountered resistance from Vichy French forces, but eventually secured the region. This pincer movement, with Montgomery advancing from the east and Eisenhower's forces pushing from the west, squeezed Axis forces trapped in Tunisia. The final phase of the North African campaign was a grueling battle for Tunisia. German and Italian forces, heavily reinforced, made a determined stand. But Allied superiority in numbers, air power, and supplies gradually wore them down. The fighting culminated in the Battle of Tunisia, and by May 1943, more than 250,000 Axis troops surrendered. It was a catastrophic defeat for Hitler and Mussolini. The victory in North Africa was hugely significant. It opened the way for the Allied invasion of Italy, leading to Mussolini's downfall. It also demonstrated the growing strength and coordination of Allied forces, particularly between Britain and the United States. North Africa served as a critical training ground for the massive operations to come, including D-Day. Additionally, the campaign solidified the reputation of key military leaders, Montgomery, Eisenhower, and Patton among them, who would go on to shape the later stages of the war. The North African Front showed that modern warfare was not just about brute force, but also about mobility, supply lines, and the ability to adapt to extreme conditions. It was a theater where heroes were made, strategies were tested, and the Axis powers suffered one of their earliest and most decisive defeats in the global struggle of World War II. Thanks for racing through history with us on History in a Hurry. If you enjoyed today's quick dive into the past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a fast-paced trip through time. Please reply in the comments with ideas for our next history lesson. See you in the next one.